Look, as you know, there is this issue abroad at Victoria University regarding a panel discussion about freedom of speech. And that panel discussion has been delayed by the university because two of its participants, but most specifically the participation of Jonathan Ayling, head of the Free Speech Union, had students in conniptions. And Michael Parkinson from the Victoria University of Wellington Students Association basically accused him of being a racist and practising hate speech because Jonathan Ayling and the Free Speech Union supported the right of Julian Batchelor to hold meetings on Stop Co-Governance. And in what was a stunning display on Monday in an interview with me, Michael Parkinson just confirmed everything I thought about his stupidity by saying guilt by association was a thing and cancellation is a really good culture. We've had tens of thousands of people watch that interview and shake their heads in shame. And this all sort of ties together with the chat with Erica Stanford this morning, the talk we've had about Otago University. And I guess Michaela gave this impression of Victoria University as a snowflake convention where all the students are worried about being offended or having difficult ideas or ideas they don't agree with confronted them, and they all need to be safe and need to be protected by anything that might rock their view of the world, their rather protected view of the world. Or that was the impression that Michaela and the Students' Association gave. But I got an email this week from a person who is a student at Victoria University, and they said, look, Sean, it's just not true. That's not the way the universities are. And in fact, our student union representatives don't represent us. And I thought that's a really interesting thing to talk about. So I got Ben to reach out to this person who is going to join us now. And look, I struggle with this. We're going to call this person Chris, and which is not their real name. And the reason for that is that cancel culture is real, and I think there is a climate of fear amongst universities. I hate bowing down to my fears, but I understand that in the real world it can have consequences, and I want to protect the person we're going to talk to. And in my opinion, this doesn't mean their anonymity should not mean that you take their views any less seriously. So we're joined by the person we will call Chris. Chris, g'day, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good morning, Sean.
All right. Now, Chris, I'm not going to say what year you're in, but you've been a student at Victoria University for a while?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And look, in broad terms, are you doing arts or sort of commerce or professional-based course of study?
Well, I'm doing a bit of both. I'm doing a BA and an LLB. So.
Okay, BA, LLB, and there are plenty of people, Look, firstly, can we address it? Because as a journalist, I think it's important we do. We're not using your real name. Why aren't you comfortable with that being a student at Victoria University?
I thought about it quite a bit. And I think part of the content of my email was that there's a climate of fear about, voicing dissenting opinions. My main concern was around employment, really, with consequences of what that could be, rather than students, because I think it's quite clear that VUWSA and this kind of crackdown on having your own opinion is coming from a very vocal but small group. So, and there's an issue there with misrepresentation, right? I mean, the whole content of my email was saying that this isn't a widespread university, and that many people may be surprised to know that every student isn't getting freaked out by, the idea of free speech. And I'm pretty sure there was 600 people who registered interest in the panel. And that was shut down by a very small, concentrated, but very politically charged group, VUWSA, who don't represent all of the views of students. And that's been,
Do you know what the turnout is for the student union elections?
No, but my guess is that it's pretty low. So
they don't actually represent the true views of of the student body at Victoria University? Let's get that clear first. And as you said, there were 600 registrations of interest in that event.
Yeah.
Okay. But if that were the case, Chris, why can't you just come out and say who you are and say that, and everyone on campus will say, good on you, mate? Those lefties at the student union building don't represent us. The very fact that you're here anonymously tells me there is a climate of fear, which may suggest, well, are these people exercising a disproportionate influence over the culture at Victoria University?
Well, I think they certainly are, Sean. And I would just remind students that VUWSA is actually a paid position, a lot of the people in there, and they're paid for by all of the students through a compulsory student services fee.
And
so
I did say that, yeah. I got it wrong with my interview with Michaela. I said membership of the union is compulsory. No, it's not, but paying the dues to keep her in, to keep her in pink hair dye is. So how do you... firstly, you took the time to write to me. Why are you worried that the student body is being misrepresented by leftist radicals?
Well, I think the dominance of left-leaning student organisations isn't inherently in and of itself the issue, but it becomes a problem when it leads to a lack of different perspectives and stifles the voices of those with different views. And that's exactly what's happened with the cancelling of the free speech panel. And it's not the first time VUWSA's done this. They've done this, I think it was only a few months ago, they promoted a protest against a lecture given by a US official on AUKUS, which was shut down.
That's right, that was shut down. And that was a really interesting event. And that was shut down. And they were basically shouted down, weren't they?
They were, and again, that just shows that VUWSA has taken it upon themselves to be the moral arbitrator of what students can and cannot hear, which isn't right, considering pay for them to be in office.
Yeah. You do understand that student unions have been a training ground for Labour MPs and Green MPs for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's another question then. Why don't you and like-minded people get together, run your own campaigns and take over the student unions?
Well, they have a somewhat monopoly on student representation. I mean, we don't have an alternative to VUWSA. You have a bunch of different smaller clubs. But
but why don't you get elected as the VUWSA president? Why don't you put up your own candidates?
Well, we've had candidates that were less left-leaning, and they've seen no success. And I think the issue that could fix that is if students, the wider students, got more engaged and cared a little bit more about who is representing or supposedly representing them.
All right. What do you feel at Victoria about the faculty, the people who are teaching you? Are they down with this, or are they concerned too about freedom of speech on campus?
Well, I'd say there's a similar divide within the academic staff. I mean, I obviously won't say who, but I've had a few professors and lecturers who have, in their own way, shown concern about, be it lack of academic freedom or lack of freedom of speech.